Welcome back everybody to my channel. My name is X, you know, fully know. So this is an idea from Salman J.B. He recommended I talk about what Mojang should do with the lost mobs. Now if you don't know what the lost mobs are, he is referring to the mobs that lost the mob votes. I don't think he's talking about the biome votes, but I'm still going to talk about those anyways, because more content, more fun for me to make a video on, right? So I'm going to be talking about what these mobs are, and then what Mojang can do with these mobs. So I guess that's it for the intro. Let's get to breaking it down. Looking back at the mob vote of 2017, we had the Great Hunger, the Monster of the Ocean Depths, the Hovering Inferno, and then the Phantom. Which, obviously, you do know the Phantom did win the mob vote, so unfortunately these three mobs will likely not be added anytime soon, but what can Mojang do with these mobs? Well, let's first talk about the Great Hunger. So the Great Hunger is a weird dinosaur-looking mob with a massive mouth that lives in the caves. But the interesting mechanic about this mob is that it has the ability to remove enchantments from your items. You can throw an enchanted item in there and it can remove it for you. Now, obviously, this mob didn't win, so the idea of removing enchantments was taken from this mob that did lose and put on the grindstone that you now know is able to remove enchantments for XP. So what can Mojang do with the Great Hunger? Well, we have 1.17, the Caves and the Cliffs update coming up soon. It would be the perfect time to add this cave-dwelling mob, wouldn't it? So if this mob is going to be added into the game, I think 1.17 is its only bet. After 1.17, I don't think this mob ever gets added, unless Mojang does some crazy, like, lost mobs, lost biomes update, and they just take everything that lost in the past few years and just put them in one update. That'd be cool to see, but I doubt it. So this mob kind of has to rely on the 1.17 Caves and the Cliffs update, if it wants to be added into the game. Hopefully it does, because I do like this mob. But then again, its enchanting removing feature is pointless now because of the grindstone. Let's talk about the Monster of the Ocean Depths. This was my favorite mob from this vote. It is a hostile underwater sea creature, which if you didn't know, back in 2017, the next update was going to be called the 1.13 update Aquatic. What's this mob? An underwater mob. I think it would have made sense to win, but ignoring that, this is a hostile mob that lives in the oceans and can pull you down with its tentacles. Already interesting enough, kind of making the players fear for their lives as they swim above the oceans, kind of like a shark, kind of like Jaws. And it is able to propel itself through the water. Pretty cool if you ask me. Very neat mob, able to propel itself through the water, pull you down. It seems like a challenging mob to face, but not a too challenging one. So I like this mob, but what can Mojang do with it? 1.13, the update Aquatic, was already done. Where could this mob be added? Well, the Minecraft community has a habit of voting for mobs that don't make sense. So next year, just add this mob into the vote. Make sure that the update theme doesn't have to deal with the oceans, and the Minecraft community will vote for it, and it'll be added. So I guess whatever next mob vote there is, if there is ever another one, add this mob, and make sure the next update is not an underwater themed update. And the Minecraft community will vote for it. I 100% guarantee it. So moving on to the Hovering Inferno. I've seen a lot of people talk about this mob, and I see a lot of people say they would love to see this in the game. Well, unfortunately, it's probably never going to happen. Sad. Never going to happen. This is a blaze type of mob. It is a type of blaze that is in the nether, and it wears shields as kind of like body parts. Its body parts are shields, which obviously protects itself from projectiles and other weapons. So it's an extremely armored, extremely powerful blaze. Kind of like a blaze boss, which would be pretty cool to see. And if you do kill it, maybe you get a lot of blaze rods. That's not confirmed. That's just my idea. And it also has a shockwave attack. Now, why do I say this mob is never getting added? Well, literally the last update that Mojang just did was 1.16, the Nether update. Like, it's not happening. Mojang isn't going to go back and reverse everything and just throw this mob into the game. It ain't happening. They're full speed ahead on the Caves and the Cliffs update, which I'm more excited and would rather see than just this simple mob in the game. I like this mob. It's a great mob. It's a challenging mob, which I've already stated. I love challenging mobs and challenges in games. But I actually don't think this mob would ever be added. So, in terms of how could Mojang add this, it's not happening. It's not happening. Yeah, no. Moving on. Moving on to the biome votes, where certain mobs were promised with certain biomes, but unfortunately lost, meaning those mobs are considered lost as well. So we started off with the Meerkat. The Meerkat was introduced alongside the desert in the biome vote of 2018. It was going to be added alongside the desert if the biome did win. Now, unfortunately, the biome did lose, and the Meerkat did not win. And there's not much I know about the Meerkat, except it probably would have been around a block tall, and I think it has something to do with fish. As you see in the video package that Mojang made, I think it had something to do with fish, but we did unfortunately not get many details on this mob. Moving on to the Ostrich. The Ostrich was introduced alongside the Savannah in the biome vote of 2018 as well. Now, this Ostrich, and just like all these other mobs I'm about to talk about, did not have a whole lot of details, so there's not much I can go off of besides going off of what really happened in the video. And if you did see in the video, the Ostrich stuck its head in the ground, and I think that would have been a kind of interesting mechanic, just sticking his head in the ground. I don't know what the purpose of that would be for, but it would be weird to see, kind of cool to see, just a pack of ostriches with its heads in the ground. That'd be kind of cool, right? Kind of weird, actually. But imagine if you were able to ride these things with a saddle. That'd be pretty cool, right? You just run around the savannah looking like the king of the world, just the king of the animals, the king of the jungle, just riding this ostrich like an absolute pro. Unfortunately, this mob did lose. I just realized I forgot to say what the Meerkat was going to be able to be added in. Well, let's put the ostrich and the Meerkat together in a desert times savannah update. They're sort of similar, not really. So, we have the Meerkat and we have the Ostrich. They would go well in an update together, I think. Desert, Savannah, updated at the same time, adding both these new mobs. But that's the only way I see these two mobs being added. The Meerkat looks pretty cool, and I really like the Ostrich. I think it would have been a rideable mob, not necessarily tameable, but definitely rideable. That would have been interesting to see. Moving on to the Vulture. I like this mob, so buckle up. This mob was going to be added alongside the Badlands in the biome vote of 2019, which was last year's biome vote. The Vulture has a very interesting mechanic where when a player dies in the Badlands, the player's loot could possibly be picked up by the Vulture and just carried around the world. Would have been really cool to see just a Vulture in the air with some enchanted gear or something. That would be kind of cool to see. And maybe it drops it just around the world. Maybe it grabs your gear and flies across the map and just drops it, and you never find it ever. Maybe you had a great enchanted sword and this Vulture picked it up and just took it away from you. Bye-bye. Say bye-bye to that netherite sword. Ain't coming back. It may be immune to fire, but it's gone. Yeah, the Vulture just took it away and dropped it in a ravine that you don't know where that ravine is, so it's gone. So I did like this mob. So where could it be added? Well, simply in a Badlands update. The Badlands need updated big time. I'm a huge fan of the Badlands, but I could be a bigger fan of the Badlands if they kind of had more of a purpose. I don't really see the need to go to the Badlands. They do look cool, but they don't really have a ton. Sadly, but there's not much there that really excites me. The biome looks cool, but that's it. and a Vulture would really splice up the place. So a whole Badlands update in general, which adds this Vulture, would be super cool to see. Moving on to the Frog, which was going to be added alongside the Swamps back in 2019. This is, well, a frog. It would have likely just shot its tongue out like a frog at invisible flies, because if there were going to be actual flies, obviously that would require Mojang to add another mob, the Fly, which would be 100% pointless, besides to make the frog useful in some way. I have no clue how this mob actually would have been useful, besides eating flies, but it likely also would have slowly hopped towards the player if they were close enough to the frog. As you see in the video package that Mojang made for the Swamp update and the frogs, slowly hopping towards them, So the frog most likely would not have had a use, but how could it be added? Well, the swamps need updated. A lot of other biomes need updated. How about just an entire biome update? I would like to see that. Just a biome update, a biome fest update, which updates a ton of biomes that lost biome votes in the past. I would like to see just a massive biome update, which updates all the lost biomes. And the frog is my least favorite out of all these mobs. Like, seriously, honestly, I like the glow squid more than this frog. Like, I see no purpose for it. Let's move on to this year's mob vote. The Moo Bloom. The Moo Bloom is a golden cow that has flowers on its back that lives in the flower forest biome, and it supposedly interacts with bees. We did not get details as to how. That's just Mojang doing their usual thing and hinting at some crazy things. So it likely would have interacted with bees, and it lives in the flower forest biome. How could it be added in a future update? The answer that I give for this mob is the same answer I'm going to give for the Isolager. Add it in this year's update, the 1.17 Caves and Cliffs update. If the Glow Squid got added, then these two mobs need to get added. Not because I dislike the Glow Squid and I want a mob that I actually like. No. Because of all the controversy and the issues with this year's mob vote, from Dream supposedly rigging it to so much other stuff and toxicity. It was just a whole mess. So I think Mojang should just add all three mobs this year, forget this mob vote, move on to the next year. So the Moo Bloom, how could it be added? In this year's update. This year's that's it. I don't see a special update for the Moo Bloom, and if it doesn't get added this year, I highly doubt it ever gets added. Well, let's move on to my favorite mob. The Isolager. The Isolager is an Illager type that lives alone, completely isolated from all other Illagers, living in the cliffs. One half of the caves and the cliffs update. One, it would have made sense to win, but I'm not here to talk about that. It would have hurled flying ice clouds at you. Very interesting attack style there, which I really like. But how could this mob be added in a future update? Well, I said that the same answer for the Moo Bloom is going to be the answer for this one this year. Alongside the Glow Squid and the Moo Bloom, this should be added. Because of all the controversy and the absolute mess of a mob vote this year, all three mobs should just be added, honestly. All three of them. And I'll probably make a video on that. So, conclusion time, I guess. Not really a conclusion, but let's get to it. So, conclusion time, how can every mob get added? Well, I'm not going to explain all that, I already explained it all. But I highly doubt any of these mobs get added. The only one I really see adding into the game is the Vulture and the Ostrich. Sadly, but I think those are the only two that, out of all these mobs here, could be added into the game in the future. Now, the Isolager and Moo Bloom have a good chance to be added. After all, this year's mob vote was a mess, and lots of players are recommending that Mojang add all three, which I'd like to see, but maybe Mojang doesn't do it, but we all know Mojang loves to listen to the community, so we'll see just how this goes. So if you did enjoy, please leave a like, consider subscribing, as it helps out a ton. If you would like to join the Molten Factions Discord server, the link is in the description. I hope to be streaming that game again soon. I think I streamed it yesterday. I'm kind of recording this video in advance, so I gotta go off of in the future. That's kind of how my videos go. Weird. Anyways, my Discord's also down there, so make sure you go ahead and join that if you want to interact more. We just hit 50 subs. Thank you all so much. It means so much to me. I'm not really going to be making a 50 sub special, but thank you all so much. It means a ton to me. And follow my Twitter down there. I tweet the most boring stuff. I'm starting to tweet more, so that's good, but I still don't tweet very, very interesting things. Yeah, that... Anyways, you know how it do be, though. And I will see you then.